I'm more of a skeptic of these practices nowadays than before I ever got into mindfulness or spirituality or any of this stuff. I guess you could say it's been about 2.5 years since I've been a full-time meditator. By that I mean I meditate every day, basically. Like most people, I got into meditation looking for some solace or some way to navigate the pain and suffering of life. Sounds so morbid. Basically, I was living at a yoga center where everybody was doing this meditation stuff and they were talking about crazy, weird spiritual things. And I was like, oh, I want a piece of that pie. And so that's where my practice began. At first, it was really difficult for me because I couldn't sit on the floor. Like my knees would be like up here, and that isn't very conducive to comfort while meditating. So I used to have a lot of books or blocks underneath my butt and my knees to help me with that, which was helpful. But then if you do it every single day, naturally you kind of just loosen up, and now I'm kind of where I'm at now. If for nothing else, I'm glad that I can sit on the floor like this, regardless of what other benefits the meditation might have brought me. At the beginning, I would say that, like any habit, it's not effortless to cultivate a habit of meditation, but nowadays for me, meditation isn't a whole lot different to an everyday habit like brushing your teeth. So I'm going to brush my teeth in the morning. Like pretty much nothing is going to stop me from doing that. If I use the argument, oh, I don't have time to meditate, well then effectively I'm saying I don't want to meditate, because there's always time. It's just a matter of making the time to do the thing that you want to do. So if you truly want to meditate, then perhaps you might get up 5 minutes early, an hour early, depending on how long you want to do your meditation for. Pretty much every day the last 2.5 years has been get up, brush my teeth, sit down on the floor. It's probably more easy for me to get up and meditate rather than get up and do other things. So maybe I'm really using meditation as a distraction. And I have thought about that. Like, what if the tool that's supposed to help me has actually now become a new addiction? And that can happen for a lot of people. We get into these practices with the intention of bettering ourselves, and then paradoxically or ironically, we end up using this new tool as a cover-up for other bad habits that we used to have. It's kind of like you stop using Instagram and then you just spend all of your time on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. It's like effectively the same habitual tendency that you're doing, only it looks a little bit different in reality. My quest for enlightenment is still ongoing. I'm not enlightened yet. I kind of gave up on it, actually. Not to say that I've given up on the meditation, but rather than hoping that I'm going to end up at some place of constant bliss for the rest of my life, I'm approaching meditation nowadays from a perspective of, okay, if I can prepare myself to navigate the everyday trials and tribulations of the world with a little bit more ease, then I'm good with that. I would say that it allows me to be less reactive in everyday life. So I find that situations that maybe previously upset me don't have such a grip on me. I'll still get upset, of course, but rather than like being taken over by that upset or that emotional turbulence, I can take a step back and distance myself from whatever's going on. There's a lot of time throughout the day where we might find ourselves in a situation where we are sitting and doing nothing, and we'll find it really uncomfortable, and then we'll reach for our phone, or we'll reach for food, or we'll reach for the television, or whatever it is. And often those habits are like a way to escape discomfort that you're not really open to feeling, and that's effectively what I would say, you're pushing away a part of yourself. You're pushing away that discomfort by numbing it out with something else. As a result of this mindfulness practice that I've been cultivating, I find that when I have the urge to grab for my phone or grab for some food, there's like a split second where I'm just like, yo, David, you're trying to escape your feelings again. Are you sure you want to do that? Or do you want to maybe just sit with it for a few more seconds? And the funny thing is, if you sit with it for a few more seconds, yeah, it might be like uncomfortable for those few seconds, but then after that, it just kind of evaporates. Whereas if you were to reach for the distraction, it doesn't transmute the same way. In fact, you might find that it just perpetuates this sensation, this feeling, this experience, and it'll come up again and again and again and again until you take the opportunity to confront it and to honor it and nurture it as you so deserve. I would say that I'm more of a skeptic of these practices nowadays than before I ever got into mindfulness or spirituality or any of this stuff. And I suppose that's by and large due to the fact that you have this expectation that things are going to dramatically improve when you start to do some sort of self-help, self-improvement type thing. And the fact of the matter is that life has challenges all the time. And a lot of people are under the impression, and I was like this too, that by getting into these practices and cultivating these helpful habits, that the challenges of life are just going to disappear and disintegrate. And from my experience, the truth is that it's always going to be challenging, but the way that we come into the challenges is dramatically different if we have a practice cultivated within ourselves, within our day. So I would say the idea of like eradicating all discomfort and frustration from life is probably unsustainable and unreasonable and unachievable, but it's definitely achievable to get your head into a space where you can come and approach these things from a grounded perspective. I don't know that I have less thoughts nowadays than I did before I meditated. I might have more thoughts, but they don't hold as much weight. They kind of just come and they go, and I'm aware that they're thoughts more so rather than them being all that is David, because there's a lot of bad thoughts that float around up there, and if you constantly identify with the thoughts, then you could probably think that you're quite a horrid person, which I'm sure is not the case. One could argue that meditation is a complete and utter waste of time, and I can't disagree with you. Like, I don't know if my life has been more useful or productive as a result of the meditation because it's what I've been doing, but I do have a theory that the meditation practice allows me to be more efficient or productive in the tasks that I'm doing. So let's say, for example, a task would usually take me 1 hour. When doing the meditation, the task might only take 20 minutes. So yeah, you might like invest time to do your meditation practice, but you might also receive a return on that investment going forward with the other things that you do in your life. There's this quote, it's a Zen proverb, and it says, "You should sit in meditation for 20 minutes every day. Unless you're too busy, then you should sit for 1 hour." And I read that before I ever got into meditation or any of this stuff, and I found it quite interesting because in this Western culture, we're so prompted to believe that if you have a busy day, you should work like 10 hours rather than 8 hours. And this quote is very appealing to the ego because it's like, oh, I can do less and achieve more. Like, that's quite interesting. Like, maybe I can be lazy and still be super rich and stuff. And that's one of the pitfalls, I think, of all of this stuff and like law of attraction and whatnot and things like that. But I do feel that there is merit to that statement, but it's important that we remain grounded in humanness and don't just expect that if we sit on the floor forever, we'll just float up into the ether and then never have to do anything again. It's a careful balance and a dance between the mind, body, and spirit, I suppose. I don't think that I would stop meditating anytime soon. For me, it's not particularly difficult. It's not a whole lot different than going to the bathroom or eating food. It's just one of the things that I do nowadays. So without sufficient evidence to suggest that it's made my life worse, I'm quite happy to continue doing it. And I would also say that if you're interested in meditating, then give it a go, like for a super short amount of time per day, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And don't expect to fly off into the ether or anything anytime soon. I mean, it could happen, but I think the best approach to take to a practice like this is to be super reasonable in your expectations and think, okay, well, maybe this will improve my life by just like 2% or something like that. I appreciate you stopping by to check out this video. I hope that you found some value in it, and if you did, or even if you didn't, if you could like the video, that'll help the video get to more people. If you want to see some more stuff, then subscribe to the channel, and as always, have a beautiful day, beautiful week, beautiful night, beautiful life, beautiful.